Okay. Hi there. So my apologies for the slight delay. I actually realized I forgot something crucial, but I hope you will forgive me. And feel free to introduce yourself, where you're from, what level you are. Today I'll guide you through the irregular verbs. That's a very nice topic. And afterwards I will also show you where you can download my apps and practice that for free. Yeah, and nicely. We will have 45 minutes, half an hour, depends, presentation, followed by roughly 15 minutes, maybe 20 of Q&A, yeah, in which you can ask any question you have. Good. Hope you're doing fine. Had a lovely day or lovely night. If you just got up, although it should be 9 o'clock at least, right? No? Or 11, 18, yeah. Good. Thank you for clicking on the poll. It's nice to see how many people are actually not familiar with my work. Shashi asked whether the session will be in German. I speak only English and just have started to learn German. And that's exactly the reason why no teaching ever should happen in German, because you will never be sure whether you fully understood things. Yeah. And any teacher who has done some research and studied this, and also common sense, has a little bit of common sense, will teach you German by using a language you understand. It's just common sense. Yeah, I've been doing it the other way around for many, many years and suffered myself from a lot of boredom and struggles, and my students as well. You know, they learned something, but they could have learned it much faster with lots less stress. Yeah. Okay, good. Let's take a look at this. Thank you. Welcome, Hank. Let's wait for that, Hank. Let's wait for that. Huh? The problem is a deeper one than the top of the iceberg that you just got rid of. Good. So let me start the presentation. If there's any issue, video, audio, I freeze. Yeah, type. I can see that on my mobile, and then I push the panic button. If it's just you, still shared with me, but if 3-4 people shared, I push the panic button, and in 15 seconds I'm back online. So don't run away. It will be fine. If you have to leave earlier because you want to see Biden or have better reasons, then do so. You will get a replay link within 24 hours. Yeah? Okay, let's take that. The lesson is coming, dear Jelena. Yeah? Be patient. So what can I share with you? Application window. Dankeschön. Slow learning, no? 1 second. Irregular verbs, here we are. So, the one thing I forgot is to make this appear in time. I have a couple of animations done, so at times you will see more information than you can digest, but you will hopefully see my mouse pointer and I'll guide you through that. Yeah, in the replay you will see the same, but I will definitely remake this whole thing as we go. Okay, let's do this full screen. I talked about this already, and again, I'm available for you in the chat, and take a look at this here and there. So, as you can see, all the information at once, but so be it. The problem with irregular verbs, at least before this masterclass, is that there are quite a lot of them. German has actually among the most irregular verbs out there, which I find quite interesting. Of those 300,000, well, it might feel that way, 3,000 irregular verbs, there is actually only 209 unique ones, and those you can even reduce to 79 verbs. So actually it's 80 I learned today. I have to update that. In my app there's 80, but we're fixing this now. Then there's no logic. Anything that doesn't follow a visible logic is difficult for us to grasp. Yeah, why are these verbs irregular? And I will not have an answer for that question, to that question for you, but I will show you how to create a logic that works for you, so that your brain actually loves to learn them. and you will see changes are arbitrary. That means they are random. Yeah, you can't just predict a change unless you apply the techniques I show you tonight. And they are also abstract because it's just letters that change. Letters are the most abstract thing on earth. Yeah, just a couple of lines representing complex stuff. So let's take a look where this goes. Let's start with the present tense. The irregular verbs show in the present tense already, not all of them. Some of them actually are invisible in the present tense. I haven't put any of those in the presentation. So you have regular verbs like kaufen. You have regular irregular verbs. I named them that. You won't find that term anywhere because I find they follow a pretty predictable pattern. And once you understand the pattern and know it's irregular, it's pretty regular. Then you have really irregular verbs that are difficult to predict or they don't follow the pattern that much. And there's the one crazy uncle that we take a look at the end. I explain these little boxes later. I think only this one, the EST 1010, requires a little bit of explanation. So far, everything okay? Can you follow? Can you actually see my mouse pointer? I would hope so, but I don't expect it necessarily. Now, let's take a look. We need all the ichs we have, and then create a verb, and to adapt it to the person, you need to just take the stem. Yeah? Should we be able to see your mouse? Well, Duncan, if you do, that would be nice. If not, just try to follow my words. I guide you a bit more clear. Yeah? Good, thank you for the feedback. So you need the stem, and this is basically the same for all verbs. And you see here already there is a change happening in the irregular verbs. Yeah, and the change is in the do and s form. The s, by the way, is representative for he, it, she, er, es, sie. But to shorten things and simplify things, I just use the s. And then you put the regular standard endings for the present. So there's really nothing that is that much different from the regular verbs, as you can see. Yeah. And then let's take a look at sein. Sein, you see the pink highlights are showing that this is really crazy. It's completely irregular except in ear. And the endings are also quite different. Yeah. Goodbye, Jeff. So the only thing I want to explain is the est 1010 in the lower left corner. And the est 1010 is basically how you can remember the endings of the persons, the different persons, ich, du, es, wir, ihr, sie. If you go down ich, du, es on the right, e, st, it's est, and then you have 10, 10. Can you follow me here? So if you take the ending of s and wir, you get 10. And if you get the ending of ihr and sie, you have another 10. So est 1010 is how you remember the endings for the present tense, no matter whether it's regular or irregular. And sein, which means to be, you have to learn by heart anyhow. Yeah. So you see this little ending. I go into detail in a minute. Now, the good news. You see here the only change occurs in do and s. And the change is pretty predictable. The plural you see is identical. So this is 90% of all irregular verbs in the present tense. Yeah, very beautiful. Once you understand which ones they are, you know the A has to change in a certain manner, and there's another change you learn about in a minute. It only concerns the second and third person singular, which is do or s. And the change follows a pattern, which is pretty doable. It's only two you need to remember. And the plural is always regular. Isn't that beautiful? That, by the way, we'll take another look at later as well. If you take a look at really irregular verbs, those that actually deserve the term, you see that there is a slight change. The change is still regular, the only thing that changes is, for example, in nehmen, the H turns into a double M, or actually the H is removed and the M is doubled. Yeah, that is probably for pronunciation reasons. Why that is, only linguists know, and only linguists need to know. You would not benefit from knowing why that is the case, because it's not applicable. It makes no sense to know that. But you see, again, the plural is always regular. Yeah. So the two changes you are actually exposed to in the present tense are the change from a, laufen, now it's au, but it doesn't matter, it could also be fahren, and it turns into an a umlaut, läufst, and that's it. So whenever you know I have an irregular verb and it has an a in the stem, that turns into an a umlaut. And the same is with anything that has an E in the stem. Nehmen has an E here, that turns into an I, sometimes an IE. And these are all. This is the simplest approach to the irregular verbs for now. That should not cause you much trouble. The problem you will have is to actually know when is a verb regular, when not. Remind me of that question, should I forget to mention it? You will actually learn that today. Yeah? Now, the problem with that is really that you can recognize a regular verb in the dictionary. You can recognize it in a text if you know what to look for and if you know what to expect. So I entered irregular verbs in the infinitive form, like fahren or laufen. Yeah, it's okay, Harish, you cannot see the cursor. Just follow me, you will be fine. And those in an online dictionary, none of these three online dictionaries, I could see it's an irregular verb. If you have a paper dictionary, they would actually tell you it's a VR or VI, verb regular, verb irregular. And that was wonderful, but nowadays nobody runs around with a paper dictionary anymore, hopefully. So you have to actually, after today, you have to enter a past sentence, yeah, like I have driven, I have taken, and then you see the German translation, you see, oh, it doesn't behave as it should, and that means it's irregular. So you have to do the backwards engineering, as I have written in point 2. Yeah, for example, if you say I have driven, you see the word gefahren, you know it ends in the N, that means it is basically irregular. And then you can also conclude, okay, it is also irregular in the present tense, it should be du fährst. So quite is something, right? So it would be better if you just learned them by heart, and it takes you less than 3 hours. If it takes you 5, that's also fine. Yeah. So here see, I summarized the present tense change, a to a umlaut, and a German e or English e to an I. Sehen, sieht, and you see here the sieht. Whether you keep the e or not, that's something you don't have to worry about. That comes naturally, especially if you work with my courses, because you will repeat these things and write them and speak them. They will become second nature, so don't worry about it. The problem is that these changes are abstract and difficult to remember. Yeah, well, these are only 2 changes, and the present tense is not really your challenge, but we will take a look at that. The problem remains, yeah, also in the past tense. So if you look at a verb without knowing it's irregular, you can't see it, and you need to memorize it. And excuse my English spelling, I usually use the American one because most of my clients come from America, but you need to memorize it, which you can do easily. Let's take a look at the past tenses. Again, there's all the information on the page. Let me guide you through this. On the left, you see U, A, E, A, O, and so on. 7 different variations, 7 different patterns. These are change patterns. Verbs change according to these patterns. And if you take a look at the preteritum and perfect columns, you see these patterns highlighted in colors. Yeah. So the question is, which verb applies which pattern? And even if you find out that fahren is irregular, maybe enter I have driven, you still don't know how the preteritum is being formed. This change is as abstract as the change before, and it follows no logic. So it's very difficult to remember, but I show you how to do this actually with a smile. Just to let you know, the preteritum is something you will never really need actively. Only of a handful, maybe 2 handfuls of verbs that will come naturally to you because you see them again and again. So I show that here because it's a complete technique, and what I show you today enables you to just learn it as you go. There is no extra effort in learning the preteritum, and once you reach B2, C1, the preteritum is nice to know because you see it everywhere in the more complex text that you hopefully will start to read as soon as you can. Yeah? By number 7, do you mean some verbs are only irregular in the present tense? Absolutely not. Schießen, Schuss, geschossen. So number 7, what I haven't given you here is the present tense. The present tense of schoss, which means to shoot, is schießen. But this IE has no influence over the way these verbs change. So it would make things only way more complex. Yeah? Genau. So no, you don't have to bother. So they are all irregular, even in the present tense by nature, but not visibly. So for example, saß, you would not see that it's irregular in the present tense. Yeah. So why bother? But the moment you see in the infinitive, let me go back, let's say fahren or sehen, you see an A or an E and you know it's irregular, then you know it changes according to the pattern you see here in 1 and 2.